So, how are you doing, man? First things first, and I seem to be doing this a little bit just recently, just because we're doing it during lockdown. We'll touch upon the first, like, obvious point of what everyone's going through at the moment. And I know you've put a video out for everybody that's listening at the moment. Murray runs well, the way I stumbled across Murray is he runs an amazing YouTube channel called Scotland's Mountains. And you've already put a video out about how you've been dealing with it. So anybody that's not listened to that, etc., how are you dealing with it? How have you been?
It's it's kind of, it's been hard. I mean, if you've seen the channel, it's all about going out to the mountains, and I'm technically a weekend warrior. So every weekend I tend to go out to the hills. I've got a very, very understanding wife. So the weekends have been tough, and the weather's been so good. I mean, literally, they couldn't have timed it any worse in terms of the mountains for me, because this time of year is my favourite time of year. Sort of March, April, May are just superb times to go into the hills in Scotland, because one, the weather's usually pretty good. Two, you get a lot of daylight. Three, there's less of the wee bitey insects that can get you. And every year I look forward to this time of year. And then, of course, lockdown came. So I've still been working. You know, the job that I do, I've been working. I've not been put on furlough or anything. So it's been tough. It's been tough for everyone, I think, because everyone's got their own hobbies and their own ways of, a release and, mental health. And certainly that for me, that's getting out into the hills and the mountains and just enjoying the great outdoors. So how have I been coping? Well, we've got a dog. We got a dog last year, a big ferocious guard dog. I don't know if you've seen that. I can't remember if she was in that video that I did. There was one video I did and she was sat on the desk. Yeah. Anyway, she's a shih poo and she's about that size. It's tiny. The cat, I kid you not, if I could bring the cat through, and the dog, the cat is like twice the size of this dog, but she's brilliant. And that's kind of forced me to go out, because sometimes if you're sitting in, it's nice to go out for a walk, and I certainly noticed loads of people out walking more than usual when lockdown started, and I thought, where have all these people come from? Yeah. But sometimes I think at the start, because you weren't allowed to do anything, everyone went out, but sometimes you can get a bit lackadaisical and you think, I can't be bothered, but having the dog, you have to let her out. I mean, I was out this morning with her and it was just great. It was lovely. Fantastic. So I've not been driving anywhere. I've just been going for walks. I live in a place called Perth, which is kind of eastern Scotland. I don't know what your geography of Scotland's like. Yeah. And I live quite near the kind of outskirts. So within about 10 minutes, I'm in there's a wee wooded area and it goes up over a hill and you're into the next valley, which is called the Erne Valley.
Like into the middle of nowhere straight away. You're straight out.
You can't see it. Yeah, you kind of go over the hill and you can't see Perth. Which is the town, and it's just you are in the countryside. It doesn't anyway get close to going up the mountains, but no, it's still getting out and it's still enjoying nature, and that's kind of how I've been dealing with it. I've kind of dusted down the bike as well. I've actually got 3 old bikes. None of them are very. I mean, they're good bikes, but they're not technically. I'm not a mountain biker. They do what they need to do. They get me from A to B. And I found since we got the dog last year, I've not really been going out on my bike as often. But with this weather, I was just like, oh man, I'm going to go and pump up the tyres and oil the chain. And I've been going out on the bike quite a lot. In fact, I'll be going out this afternoon, I think, with this weather being nice. Get a bit of tan on those legs, Get rid of those milk bottle white peely-wally legs that I've got. So that's essentially it. That's how I've been kind of dealing with it. And in terms of my mountain fix, I suppose I've been editing loads of films. I was quite lucky because I kind of had a back stash of films that I'd done. I had 4 or 5 of them before lockdown came, which I hadn't released. So I put those out. But now I'm on to, in fact, what I've been doing this morning, I've been editing a film where I broke my arm out in the hill from 2012. The footage isn't as good, but it's good going back. So a lot of these films have been taken. Some of the older ones have certainly been removed from YouTube, because at the time when I first started out, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to put AC/DC as a soundtrack in this, or I'm going to put, I don't know. So I was just like, it was fine for years, and then all of a sudden I started getting these messages through saying this video has been removed due to copyright reasons. I was like, right, and I got a bit more savvy and realised that you couldn't just pick up anybody's music and put it over your videos. So there's a lot of videos that I did that were on YouTube for a couple of years and were removed, and this was before the channel had had many views at all. So it's been good fun going back and re-editing them. So the next kind of, well, for however long until we're allowed back out, I'm just going to try and get things going, Lee, because I wasn't too sure how folk would react, because you're not getting out. Do you really want to be seeing people going up the hills, albeit it's historical? And you know, the people that follow my channels were great. They were like, oh, no, keep on doing it. It gives us a wee bit of something to watch. And, you know, so that was the main reason I sort of continued to do it. So that's what I've been doing, really. That's been my life. And that's mainly at the weekends, because, as I said, I've still been working during the week, which has been good as well. But not been getting the work that I do. I'm on the road a lot, and I meet a lot of people. So a lot of it's been working from home, which has been different, tough.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Like, it's weird, isn't it? Like, that seems to be a good way to keep yourself sane. I'm very much the same. It's weird because I'm not. I've had to adjust to not working. I'm a tattoo artist, so like when it kicked in, we almost just. I had a feeling I was learning more and more about it, listening to people talk about it, different professors and all this kind of stuff, and I was like, oh, this could get really serious, you know? And then the government started ramping up their response to it. And I was like, this is going to be serious. And it's so strange, because I remember when it first kicked in, I went for a walk with my friend, Darren, and we were lacing up our boots and we were just chewing the fat, just talking about it. And I was like, I think it's just silly, you know? This is just ridiculous. I don't think it will be anything and it will come to nothing. And Darren's like, yeah, definitely. That's right. And then I think it was 2 weeks after that, after we'd been on a really big trog, we message each other quite a lot. And I was like, oh man, this is like way serious. I think they're going to put like a lockdown in the UK. I think it's going to get to that point. And then it hit, and I've just had to adjust, because I've got my son full time. I have my daughter off at the time. So I've had to adjust to being at home with them. And I'm similar to you. I live in a little town called Barnoldswick, near Skipton in England. And there's like, you can just walk for a little bit, and there's a hill next to us called Wheats Hill. And it's good to get out to and stuff, but it's not like mountains or anything like that.
No.
But, I mean, any hill's good, isn't it? It's good for your fitness, but it's good to get up high, you know? And I don't know, it was weird to try and adjust to it. And I've slowly adjusted to it. And I feel like it's going to be another corner to turn when we're allowed to go back to work. Cause I don't think, my job is contact, you know, and we're going to have to wear PPE, etc. And we're going to have to go back to work and do that kind of stuff. But I've kept saying I've been going out. I've been getting, when my mum, because I have full-time custody of my son, my mum has been having him if I need to get my own space, you know. I've chosen then to go on a walk. Got Pendle Hill next to us and stuff, and I've got out and
Pendle Hill, is that where the witches are? Pendle Hill.
Yeah. So we that's amazing. So that's really local to me. Like Barley's, the town at the foot of the hill is I think it's about a 15-minute drive or something like that. And I took the kids up there like 2 days ago. You know, it was scorching. But since the lockdowns come in, I went up there. Okay, but I went up there like 2 days before they started easing things. And Murray, honestly, I took a video up there, and I was stood on the trig point, and there wasn't a plane in the sky. There wasn't a person to be heard. There was no one else up there. And I know I shouldn't have been up there, but that solitude and that emptiness was so just peaceful and relaxing. It was just unbelievable. And then I went up the other day with the kids, and it was like a procession going up. Yeah. People with ice creams, you know.
Yeah, I think you guys down south at this moment in time, what date is it today? The end of May, 30th of May.
Yeah, we're right at the end.
Yeah, I think the restrictions are a bit stricter in Scotland. So yesterday was the first day they opened up things like the hills and the golf courses, but you're not allowed to go to the hills if you don't live in them. Basically, 5 miles is what they're recommending, which is I think for me getting to the mountains, I think I'll be mid-July to August, depending on how things progress. But yeah, as I said, everyone's in the same boat. It's kind of just try to cope with it and do that. But yeah, no, the solitude what you're talking about there, being on the top of Pendle Hill and there's nobody there, that to me is bliss. That's what I go. You know, don't get me wrong. I really enjoy going to places like Glencoe and going up the popular hills, and you meet lots of folk. But the days where I can go and I don't meet another soul, and I know that with me being on the hill is actually contributing to people being up there. But when it's really quiet, I just love it. I love it when it's really, really. You don't meet anybody else. You've got time with your thoughts, and you can just sort of walk. You get into it's almost like meditation. You know, you get into that kind of rhythm, and you forget all the troubles of the outside world, what's been going on in your own life, and all you've got is you and nature.
Yeah, I think as well, like, for me, we live in a world that's like we constantly live in where our feet doesn't touch, like, we're constantly in our shoes, our trainers, we're in our concrete houses, all this kind of stuff. At any time to get away to a spot where you feel like you've stepped back in time, you feel like you're in a place where it's where you're supposed to be, is always a good thing. And I think that's why I challenge anyone to, even if you could pick an unfit person up who's definitely not going to get up a mountain, but you could plop them on top and be like, check this out. Like, they would be in awe of it, because it's just a natural thing to have. And then not only that, if you're up there on your own, say if you're up, you know, you've done various wild camps, you know, even on the CMD Arret, one of the videos you did, and there was not a soul up there. I think you said amazing. there was somebody up on Ben Nevis at point, but you were pretty much on your own.
That was an amazing day. I just picked up my phone to say that's another thing, getting away from these things they're a blessing and a curse, because I think mental health, kids growing up, I don't know how old your kids are, but my kids are a bit older, and they're never off. In fact, I took a video. Make sure he's not listening, but I took a video of my son. He'd obviously woken up earlier in the morning, put his glasses on in his bed, and had his phone like that, and he'd fallen back asleep. So I'd gone and videoed him asleep with this in his hand, you know. And you know, I think getting away, you know, getting into the hills, you do have that with you, but you obviously can't have it, and you're not
for sure
connected to it when you're up there. But yeah, no, the CMD, the hike up Ben Nevis, that was probably a similar summer to what we're having now during lockdown. That was 2018, and it was just fantastic weather. And it was on my bucket list to do that. And I wanted to do it when it was perfect weather, not much wind, because when you get that high up, I mean, you're almost as high as Ben Nevis, you're over 1,000 meters. You always get a bit of wind, and you don't often get big high pressure areas where the mountain tops are very still.
Yeah, for sure.
I got that on that trip. So the other thing I was going to say is watch this space. I've re-edited that. Well, I had to re-edit that. I was asked to show it at the Dundee Mountain Film Festival a few years ago.
Wow.
So I made a re-edit of because when I did it in 2 parts.
Okay.
So there's I think I've got it coming out in about a month. A re-edit of the wild camp on Ben Nevis. So it's that was amazing. Yeah, I mean, just going across that Arret, nobody else there, and perfect weather. It was just
yeah. And is that the first time you've done the CMD Arret then? Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I think I've done it maybe 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, I thought I was going to say, yeah.
I think I did it in the summer years ago, but one of the videos that kind of cemented me into YouTube was actually I did a winter going back to, I think it was 2012 or 2013. Yeah. Perfect conditions. There'd been quite a bit of snow, and it'd all kind of frozen for a week. So it was all very stable. And I went up, and it was I got, as always, I was up very early. So I got it to myself again. I'm actually looking, I'm looking at a picture on my wall of Ben Nevis taken on that day.
Wow.
And it was just amazing. Blue skies, loads of snow. And that was the first video that I put that got a wee bit of traction. People kind of started commenting and got quite a few views. I think it's one of the most viewed. If you look at the YouTube channel, you go to my most popular videos. There's like a few wildcat ones, and then there's the CMD Arret one. It's just you'll notice it's like a picture of big mountain, blue skies.
Yeah.
And that was amazing as well. That was another day which was just like, wow. Yeah. It was a perfect day. I tell you a bit more of a sinister story about that day was I was coming off. I was up early, so I was coming down. I'd met maybe 1 or 2 people the whole way around, and I was back in the forest at the bottom, and I heard a helicopter. I thought, that's odd, you know, because you can have accidents, but it just shows you can have them in any sort of weather. And then a bit further down, I heard another helicopter. I thought, that sounds like 2 helicopters. What it transpires is that some unlucky soul had fallen on a proper climb. They were doing a rock climb.
Of the North Face.
On the North Face, yeah, somewhere on the North Face. And they'd come in to winch them off. I think the story was the winch cable broke when they were winching them up. I think so. That's why the other helicopter had to come in. So, yeah, absolutely. That's what I remember about that day. And I just remember thinking, God, it's such a perfect day for something so bad to happen. And Ben Nevis is for anyone watching this and they go and watch my video and think I'll go up there. You got to remember that I've picked my days carefully. That I think it takes 5 to 10 lives a year on average. Ben Nevis. I've got
a cool story because it kind of relates to that directly. Last year, myself and my friend Darren, we went to tick some bucket list points off for Scotland, and we're going to try and go back in September. But one of them was Ben Nevis. He'd done Ben Nevis, but he'd done it up the pony track. And I was like, I want to do Ben Nevis, but I'm not doing the pony track. I want to do the CMD Arete. He's like, yeah, that's fine. So we looked at the weather window. We came up to Ben Nevis. We came to Fort William, and we parked in the North Face car park, and we stayed there overnight. Woke up in the morning, had our coffee, set off, and it's quite a trog from the North Face car park up through the forest, like you say.
Yeah, it's quite a steep pool, isn't it?
Yeah, is it Cairnmore-Jerrig?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you come up. We got to the top of that, but and everything seemed fine. There was cloud coverage on the top of Ben Nevis, but we were hoping for it to pass. We thought it might pass, but we were there to do it, so we decided to do it. As we started to get closer and closer to the top of Cairnmore-Jerrig, I noticed two people. I was like, oh, there's two people up there, Darren. He's like, yeah. And I was walking ahead. I was setting the pace. And as we were getting towards the top, the clouds started coming in, getting mistier and mistier and mistier. And then as we got closer and closer to the top, the weather just changed like that. It was turned from like just misty to just the most violent wind, and the rain was coming in all on my right side, right? So much so to the point we had good equipment on and everything. But so much so, we got to the top of Cairnmore-Jerrig, could not see anything. It was pea soup up there. You couldn't see anything. We spoke to the two people that we got to. They were just stood at the top of Cairnmore-Jerrig, and I said to Darren, I was like, I think that's the way to the Arete. You know, it's that way. Are we going to do it? It's like, yeah. So we started walking. The weather was insane, honestly. I was thinking to myself in my head, and it's weird when you're with someone, isn't it? Because you're like, there's an ego thing, isn't there? Like, what are we doing? Are we doing this? Are we doing this? And in my head, I'm like, I am getting pelted. Yeah, I am super uncomfortable here. I'm not sure if this is the right thing to do. I really want to bag this mountain because it would be brilliant. We're doing this, that, and the other. But it was destroying my right side. And we came down onto the Arete. And just as the Arete starts to like thin out a little bit, like it's weird because I know it's not one of the worst Aretes as for exposure, etc. It's quite easy to do, but it looked gnarly because the cloud was so far in. You could only see the spine going forward. And I remember
shark's fin coming out.
Yeah, exactly. And it got to a point where I was like, in my head, I was like, this probably isn't the best thing to do. The wind was that violent. It was coming up out of the horseshoe and pushing across. And I was just like, I'm not sure we should do this in my head. And then Darren just got down low. He looked up at me and he's like, he's trying to say something to me. And I couldn't tell a word he was saying. The wind was taking his voice away. And then I got close and he's like, are we doing this? You know, are we going to do this? And I was like, no.
Yeah. No, well done for doing that. Yeah. I think there is actually, I've read about this, excuse me, somewhere, that when you're with somebody, you do have that, you're less likely to kind of turn around because you've got the added, your mind's telling you, well, I've got somebody else with me, it's a bit of security, and you don't want to kind of, you're thinking, well, they've not said anything, and we'll just keep on going. Whereas if you're by yourself, you'd be thinking, it's time to go back. Yeah. This is me saying this just after editing a film where I broke my arm and still went up the mountain. And that was when I was by myself. But yeah, no, it's the mountain will always be there another day, and you've got to turn around sometimes. And I do get, in fact, I had somebody contacting me. I was on Instagram actually yesterday about the CMD Arete, and just asking, oh yeah, and how is there markers telling you where to go? And I'm like, no. And I was like, just make sure you've got a map and compass, and make sure that you can You can navigate, and because you're seeing this mountain in the one day that year when there was no wind and it was lovely, 99% of the time it's blowing a hoolie.
Yeah.
You can't stand up straight. And I said, yeah, good luck after lockdown. He came back and says, no, I'm going to go before lockdown because it'll be quieter. And I was like, oh, for crying out loud. So just be safe. Make sure you've got the map and compass and know how to use them. Because
there was a story just over the winter. No, there's no signposts up there. There might be a few cairns, but or like piled rocks, but there's no signpost telling you which way to go for anybody that's wondering. But just over the winter time as well, there was I think it was a group of foreign like hikers, or not even, they weren't even hikers, they were in trainers. I think they weren't even well prepared for it, and they got caught out massively on that sure happens every year. It's crazy how many people go up places and they don't have the correct boots, they don't have the correct this, that, and the other. And it seems to, because Ben Nevis is such a polarizing mountain for Scotland, people just think, oh, we're just going to go and do it and everything will be good. Even if they go at the pony track, they'll be like, oh, I'm fine. But you can easily get to the top and not have a clue which way you topped out, which way it is, and then just walk.
Actually, you say that, Lee, and you're exactly right. I mean, the way you were going up, the CMD arete, in terms of navigation, it's not too bad because you're following a narrow arete. If you go off it, you're kind of But the big issue with Ben Nevis, and where a lot of the problems arise for people, is navigation on the top, because one side of it is like sheer cliffs, and the other side is just a big whale-back ridge. But if you get your navigation wrong from the summit off, there's two issues. So you've got the big cliffs on your right-hand side, and sometimes there can be cornices which people have fallen through, and you're not going to touch the ground for about 3,000 feet if you go through one of them. So what people tend to do is they go the other way. They take a bearing the other way, but too far. And if they go too far, there's something called Five Finger Gully. And that's been the site of so many bad accidents, because people are thinking that we need to stay away from the north face, so we'll just make sure we're going down this way. But they've overshot it and end up in some really steep terrain, which is on the other side of the hill. So you have to be quite careful coming off the top of the Ben in bad weather. I mean, I've been lucky enough. I've not really been up the top of the Ben in bad weather. It's always been pretty fair. And I've been on the summit, which is nice. But you've got to be careful. I mean, not just on Ben Nevis. It drives me nuts. Every year I'll go up in the mountains, usually about March, April time, when weather down here, it's kind of like that, it's nice and sunny, and it's not nice and sunny up in the hills, and I've been on the top of mountains, coming down full ice axe out, crampons on, fully kitted up, and I'm kitted up because I wouldn't be up there. I would have turned around if I didn't have that kit. And there's people coming up, and they've got these summer kind of, I call them trainers, but summer kind of boots, which they won't take a cramp on. And I was thinking, there was one point last year, and I was like, if that guy falls there, that's it. He's going to fall a long way. And they're looking at us coming down with the crampons and ice axes, and they must think, it must go through their brains. Why have they got that on? And I think 9 times out of 10. These people, they got up that bit. I mean, we turned around and watched them, they got up fine. So that then breeds the confidence that they've got away with it, and they'll think, oh, it's fine, and they'll go out and do it again. And then it's that one time in 100 or one time in 1,000 where it's serious. It's serious. It's you read about, as you said, you read about those people on the Ben, and I think people kind of maybe underestimate the Scottish Hills sometimes because they're not the same altitude as like the Alps or wherever. But I tell you what, they kill just as many people because of the change, the change in weather.
100%. Yeah, I think it definitely goes without saying that you cannot take it lightly. There's ways up the mountains in Scotland where you can have a nice hike, but the 9 times out of 10, the most scenic ones are the ones that are probably most fraught with a little bit of danger. And I think that people think it's easy to just do that and they'll be okay. I think at Mount Snowdon, there's the Crib Goch Ridge. People are like, there's so many different ways up Snowdon, but people are like, oh, we want to do that because that looks like so cool, and then they get on there and they get stuck halfway across because they can't seem to move because fear's taken hold of them, or they've just literally, they've fallen off out of sheer fear. And then you get people on the other edge of the scale that just run across the spine and they have they have no care at all in the world of anything.
One person's nightmare is another person's fun. You just can't legislate of how people. That's the problem I have sometimes when people contact me. how easy is this? I'm like, I've no idea who you are. I don't know how much, you know, how long did it take you to get, how long would it take me to get up? I don't know.
Yeah.
I have
So
no idea.
for you as well, like, you also did a video about this, but this is just for the people that are listening for this podcast. But as a child, like, what were you like as a child? You know, like, for myself, my parents didn't take me out hiking. You know, it's just something that I discovered myself. What about you? How was it for you?
Yeah, but just when you asked that first question, what were you like as a child? I was just thinking, if my children did any of the things I did, or if I found out my children did half the things I did when I was their age, I'd be mortified. You know, it's different now. Maybe it's different. Maybe I was getting older. You don't see as many kids hanging about street corners. But
No, you don't.
I didn't. When I was growing up, I always had a. Yeah, I think I did do a video on how I got into hiking. The hiking side of things, always like
You did.
had a fascination with the mountains. You could see them from where I lived, and I read The Lord of the Rings, and I just wanted to go hiking, and I didn't really do any of that. I mean, I was in the Cubs, didn't go to the Scouts. Played a lot of football, and then I did a lot of martial arts. Like I was literally from about the age of 13 to my mid-20s. That was my life, you know. And
Wow.
I kind of.
What martial arts were you interested in?
I did. Well, the first thing that we started off with was something called Thai Jitsu, and then it was like a blend. So you're going back to the early 90s, probably 1990, early 91, maybe 92. And it was a blend of Aikido and Jiu-Jitsu. And it was just, I just got into that. And it was great. That was just like all encompassing. And then when I left school and I went up to uni, there wasn't any of the club that I joined. There was none of those clubs up in Aberdeen, but they did have specific Aikido and Jiu-Jitsu clubs. So I started from scratch with these two because it was very more traditional technique compared to the stuff that I was doing down here was more, I don't know, maybe I call it maybe more dynamic. I mean, this is long before people nowadays talk about martial arts and you think about mixed martial arts and cage fighting and
everything evolves, doesn't it? Yeah, everything evolves.
I mean,
it's got to come from somewhere. So what you were saying there, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I did a lot of that, which was great. And that was the time, I suppose the UFC was just starting up, and Hoyce Gracie and the Gracie brothers and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, so I did that, and then I got injured, maybe early 20s, and I kind of persevered. And at this point, I was starting the hill walking. So maybe early 20s, and I was doing the hill walking and a bit of the martial arts, and I just started to get injuries. I think it was the jiu-jitsu club I was going to, this traditional club. I mean, they literally had the place I started training. It was straw. I mean, it was straw on the ground. There wasn't even mats, and it was stuff that had been put down maybe 20 years ago. So it was like. It was the most compacted. It was like hitting concrete. So that's probably one of the reasons I got injured.
Yeah, definitely.
Break fall on this. I would break my arm. It's just come back with bruises just after doing break falls. Anyway, I started to get more injuries, and I just got more and more into the hill walk. And as I said, it was more in my early 20s than when I was a kid. I was taken up. I did something called the Larry Grew with a group from the Duke of Edinburgh. And that was amazing, but I just never really got into it until my early 20s. Some of my friends took me up, and then I got the bug. And I've been going ever since.
It's hard
escaping to the mountains.
Yeah, it is an escape, isn't it? Like, it's hard not to, because I remember when I fully discovered it, I used to go on hikes here and there, but it wasn't until, I'd say about 10 years ago or just less. And I'm 35. So I went for a period of my life where it just wasn't in. And now I could not imagine it not being here. But my friend was like, look, listen, do you want to come out with me in the morning? I was like, yeah, I do. And I can't wait for it. So and he's like, yeah, right, okay, make sure you got a flask of coffee and we'll go and do Pennygent. And I was like, right, okay, we're going to do Pennygent. So we went to go, and I just did not realize what I was getting myself into. And I think that's just a small hill, in terms of height of mountains, etc. But it's like you're on an incline straight away, and he's walking off, and I started walking, and it wasn't until I realized how unfit I was. There's a different kind of fitness for different kinds of things that you do, isn't there? You could
absolutely.
You could do boxing, and you've got that explosive you know, cardio, jiu-jitsu, and it's kind of explosive, but it's not as well. But hill walking or mountain walking, if you set a pace, it's just steady state cardio, but at a really high heart rate, because if you're pushing constantly upwards and moving, it's just a different kind of fitness. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was weird, but it hit me. And then we trained, and then it didn't put me off, and I trained to do the Yorkshire Free Peaks then, and we've done it several times now. But it's just, I don't know, it's so addictive, and once it's in your life, it's hard to let go of. I don't think you ever will let go of it, as long as your legs will take you to the top of the mountain.
I've got a kayak out the back from my knees eventually do give way. So I'm still getting amongst the hills, but no, you're right.
Yeah, I think coming down's probably the worst for your knees, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've used walking poles literally since I started. I had my first operation on my knee was probably, when did I move in here? It was well timed because we moved into this house, and I had my knee op the week before, so I couldn't lift anything heavy. So I was sitting there with my crutches pointing. My mates were all bringing the fridges and freezers, and I was like, "Yeah, stick that over there." That must have been, it was 2001. I had my first knee operation. And yeah, I've used poles just to try and protect my knees. And
yeah,
I find that they're really, really, I mean, they probably are pretty uncool now, but when, you're in your early 20s and you're the only person using poles, they're like, it was super, super not cool to be wearing, using poles up the hills, but I've used them, and I find they help me on the up. I wouldn't go anywhere without them now. They help me uphill. Yeah. And if I'm going wild camping, I've got all that gear on my back, all the camera gear. The poles are just, the amount of times they've saved me from falling over or tripping into a burn or, all that sort of stuff. They are really good. And you see more and more people with them now. I mean, I don't know, in terms of the coolness type of thing, I don't know. Maybe it's because I am getting old now, but certainly hiking and hill walking was the opposite of cool, like back in the day. But there does seem to be so many more young people, which I think is brilliant, taking up hill walking and hiking, and you see all the things on Instagram and Twitter and all these sort of things. Yeah. I think it's brilliant. But then again, I just don't know if that's me getting older, and these people that I'm looking at maybe aren't that young. It's just because I'm ancient.
No, I think you're right. I think you're definitely right. I think there seems to be I've talked about it with my friend. There's a definite resurgence of, well, not even it's a resurgence, but an awakening of people wanting to get out there. And I think national parks are realizing this, because there's a lot of regeneration of paths now. They're starting to do this, and they will make it a bit more accessible for certain people on more popular peaks. But yeah, I think it's undeniable, isn't it? I was going for a bit of a tough spot at one point. I think it was like last year, just trying to make a decision that I couldn't make, and I went to Helvellyn on my own. I was just like, I woke up in the morning, I was like, right, I'm nothing else today. I'm going to the top of Helvellyn. Picked an amazing day, did Striding Edge, and it was so nice, and it was so beautiful. And I remember just sat at the top. I got to the top of Helvellyn, and there was a girl at the top, woman at the top, and she'd carried up in the morning. I can't imagine what she was carrying or whether two people helped her, but she had like a whole stove set out, all she brought up, like, I think it must have been about 10 liters of water, loads of stuff. And she was selling coffee and protein bars and flapjacks for people at the top. It was so
really
funny. Yeah.
Dragon's Den. I've never thought of that. I'll need to get my drone to carry all the water up, though. I've sawed that. That's a lot of weight.
I know. I couldn't believe it. I was like, well, she didn't go Wirral Edge. That would have been even harder. And then Striding Edge isn't easy to do with all that. And how has she done this? She can't have left it at the top. Or could she? I don't know. Anyway, I got to the top, and I just remember sitting there, and it was a beautifully clear day. And on days like that, when you can see for miles, I just let my thoughts go and made the decision, and it was the correct decision. And it's just the best way to, I think, clear your mind, get away from the hustle and bustle.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than it, I don't think.
That's what I'm struggling. I wouldn't say struggling with, but certainly it is the mental health side of things. It's such a good, there's so many things about getting, I suppose it doesn't have to be hill walking. I think there are certain great mental health benefits, like just I was talking about earlier on, getting out locally with the dog, but just the exercise side of things, the views, and just that time alone to think as well, I think is an invaluable, and it certainly, I think it has helped me over the years with like yourself, number of decisions I've had to make, or if I've had a tough, hard week at work and I know I've got something to focus on at the weekend. That's what I'm missing now. It's just like work, and not getting out. I'm still doing the out with the dog, which is helping. It's massive help, especially with this weather. But yeah, I'm missing the mountains. I really am, and I don't know when we're going to get back.
I think it'll be soon. I do think it'll be soon. Like, I'm hoping that it will be soon anyway, to be able to travel up to Scotland again. But like for you, we'll stay back when you at a younger age. Did you do any indoor bouldering or any climbing of that sort, or is that something that you've got into just over the past few 10 years?
Yeah, the climbing. I met Jerry, one of the guys that you see in some of the videos, and he's a proper mountaineer. He's a proper mountaineer. And he got me into the climbing, and we've not done much. Things have transpired against us. The last few winters, the weather's been or the conditions certainly haven't been ideal. And when the weekends have come along, where it has been, the snow conditions been fine. We've been busy doing other stuff, and I'm trying to think if we've got anything done this year. I think we did a gully climb the year before, and then the rock climbing we've not really. We hardly got any done last year. We've done a few scrambles and what have you, but in fact, the video that I put out this week was one from the archives. We did Agag's Groove.
Yes, is that on Buchel at Moor? No,
it's on the. Yeah, it's on the Buchel. Yeah,
it's on the Buchel.
Yeah. And that was good. But we were planning. That was one of the ones we've been talking about getting back and doing this year. And at this sort of weather, perfect, dry, warm rock. It would have been perfect, but. What can we do? I mean, so the climbing side of things, that's been more recent, and it's good fun. Yeah, I enjoy the climbing. The one thing that I don't enjoy about the climbing is it takes so bloody long. Anything with ropes,
Yeah.
I like, in terms of winter climbing, I like the easier grade stuff where you don't necessarily need a rope. If it's a nice snow gully and you can just get battered up it. Anytime you have to stop and get the ropes out, I always find it a bit of a faff, especially in the winter when it's bloody freezing. It's like, oh my God, my hands are freezing.
Yeah, your hands are not working. Yeah.
How'd you do a knot with try to get a knot out of something? Anyway,
no, it's not working. I think there's like a test they do for the like Royal Navy or the Marines or something. Like I think David Goggins was talking about. They did like a test where they dip the hands into like minus degrees water, freezing cold water, and they've got to kind of like untie a knot, or they've got to do something. I think it's like
give them the granny knot. Take that out. I've just finished watching, and I've read I'm just on this book now, the SAS, the Ant Middleton.
Right, yeah.
So I watched that. I don't know if you watched that program.
I've been to go and see one of his talks live. He's just so inspirational.
Oh, really?
Yeah, what a guy.
I'm sort of I'm near the end of his book now, which is great. I watched that program, and it's I think it's probably one of my favourite TV programs to watch. It's just brilliant. But I think, why the hell would you put yourself through that? The contestants. It's like,
I know. It's crazy. Also, what I was going to say as well, what I wanted to ask you, because anybody that doesn't know or that does know that's listening to this knows that you've put your body and your mind and your eyes in front of some amazing things. I think that's something that people should kind of think of it that way. You've got to take yourself to different places so your body and your mind can experience certain things. And getting to the top of a mountain is definitely one of them. You've done that on so many different occasions and documented it for yourself and for everyone, so they can see it. But like, what's some of your favorites? Like, it's hard. It's got to be hard. But is there anything that sticks out to you as one of your favorites?
Oh, I mean, a lot of people ask me. That's quite a good way of putting it, Lee, because you're not asking me specifically. A lot of people say, "What's your favorite mountain?" But to me, it's more the conditions, and a mountain can be different every day. It can be sunny one day, it can be rainy, different times of the year. The sun rises in different places. Oh God, I mean, some of the experiences I've had, just the wild camping ones are always the best, because you experience the sunset and then you experience the sunrise, providing you get out of your bed early enough. At this time of year, it's about 3 o'clock in the morning up here.
I know, yeah.
But I mean, the one a lot of people talk about and I've watched is when I saw the Northern Lights up on a mountain in Torridon, and that was amazing. I mean, oh God, when was that? 2014, 5 or 6 years ago. But I'd gone up. It was February, and the weather was good, and I thought I'm going to go and camp on the top of Ben Alligan's, the name of the mountain. And I went up, and it was a glorious day. It was just absolutely fantastic. And there's 2 tops to Ben Alligan, and I'd gone to the further away one. And usually what I'll do is I'll have something to eat. I'll let the sun go down, because there's that sort of twilight zone where you can still see the light in the horizon, so you can't really take any pictures of the stars. If you're using the camera, it's still too bright until the sun goes away out west, and it's really, really dark. So going back to the tent, and it was getting dark, and I was listening to some music and chilling out, and I came back out and I popped my head out of the tent, and I noticed a flashlight on the first Munro, the first top.
Oh, wow.
And it was going on and off, and I thought there's a photographer up there, because you switch your headlamp on to see the back of the camera, and then switch it off to take the picture, because if you've got the light on, it'll affect the photographer.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
I thought he was taking pictures. I'm going to go out and take some pictures, just usual stuff, pictures of the tent and pictures of the stars. And the first few that I did looking north, when I looked at the back of the camera after I'd taken them, I noticed this faint green. And I couldn't see it with my eyes at this point. It was just coming up in the camera, because the camera's more sensitive. But within about half an hour, it was just like all over the sky to the north, and you could see it with the naked eye. And it went on and on and on. And I mean, I think sometimes people that go out looking for aurora hunters, they can say, they can be there for hours, and it comes and it's there for 10 minutes. They can see it and then it disappears again. This was literally on. I went to bed about 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was still lighting up the sky above a place called Gairloch. So that was amazing. I was super chuffed with that. That was just one of those experiences. And with the weather being so good, it was just perfect. And then I suppose another one was that wild camp on Ben Nevis. There's so many. I mean, there's so many good views. Skye is probably one of my favourite places. I do like the Isle of Skye. The Coolins. We did years ago, before I kind of got into the climbing, we did the Coolin Ridge, which is in the UK, it's probably the most alpine-like traverse you can do. I mean, those of your listeners who don't know much about the mountains, you get rounded mountains or hills, and you get proper jaggy mountains, and Skye is proper jaggy mountains. And we 2006 there were 6 of us, and we hired a mountain guide and went, and we did it for charity. I think we raised about $7,000 between the lot of us for Marie Curie at the time. And we got taken across the Coolin, and we booked the guides for 5 days. So the first few days was learning, he was taking us through how to abseil and basic rock climbing techniques and stuff like that. And the second day, we were kind of going over maps and all that sort of stuff. And then we had 3 more days to play with. And they give you this 5-day window, because you've got to sort of judge when the weather's going to be best. So I got to the 3rd day, and he says, for days 4 and 5, it's looking bloody good. So we went up and dropped a lot of gear off, like water, up at near a place called the Inaccessible Pinnacle. And that was going to be our first bivvy spot. So we walked up and dropped that stuff up, so we didn't have to carry it all with us. And the next day we woke, and it was just beautiful, amazing blue skies again, just like it is at the moment. And we went round to a place called Elgol. If you've never been to Elgol, it's just like amazing. Go to Elgol. It's Elgol.
I need to write these down, definitely.
Yeah. But you can get a boat from Elgol, which takes you into Loch Carrusk at the southern end of the Coolin. So we got the boat in to do the traverse, and then it was just amazing. The next 2 days, we did it over 2 days, and it's just sunburnt, perfect weather. Yeah, that's probably one of the best sort of mountaineering memories I've got, was doing that. And I'd love to do it again. I'd love to go back and do the Coolin Ridge. It's maybe something me and Jerry need to get sorted before we get too old.
No, Skye
on the bucket list.
Skye is just beautiful. I've been there twice. So in my lifetime, I've been there twice. First time was just so inadvertent. I was working at that point. It was before I did tattoos. I was working for a ground surfacing company, and one of the first jobs we did was in Plymouth. So that's one of the first jobs I ever did. The last job I ever did was on the Isle of Skye. So it was like boom, boom. And And I just remember being up there, and I was driving up with a guy, and I've been to Scotland a few times, but I'd never been that far up, and it was one of them moments. And if anybody's listening, that does this drive and realize and understands what I'm talking about, you can't, you know, when you first drive through Glencoe, there's so many times when you're like, stop the car, what is going on, where are we right now, you know? And you know, the first time you see the buckle, and then you drive past the Three Sisters, and you're just like, pull over. I feel like I'm in Jurassic Park or something like that, you know. I remember going to the Isle of Skye, and that was even more, because you go past the Elian Donnan Castle, and
right,
and then when you get onto Skye, it's just unbelievable. The first time I did it, it was great, but the second time was last year, and we went to the Old Manor store and a few different places. But I remember the drive onto it was just unbelievable. It was the rain was intense. The waterfalls were going up rather than down, and I don't know, that island has so much like going for it in terms of views and just natural beauty. You know, like we need to go back and do the Coollands, definitely. But it's such an amazing place. We also went to Ardnamurchan, which is the most western peninsula, I think, in the.
That's right, mainland. Yeah.
And there's a volcano, so we went. You know, like when you look down on it, you can see the outer ridges of the volcano that used to be there. And we drove through that. I drove through that in the camper van, and we got to Sana Beach. It was such an amazing place. But when we were there, we were visiting someone, and it's one of the things when you're in a certain place and time at the right moment. We visited a member of Darren's family, and they used to live in this town, but they've obviously moved like 280 miles away to this nice remote little Kilcohen, I think it is. And we got these tickets to go from Stafford Tours, and we went to Stafford Island. And have you ever heard of Stafford Island?
No, I've heard of it. I've not been. Is that where they've got the hexagonal rock formations?
The balsite volcanic rocks. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Unbelievable. That was like a little.
The whole cliff of it, isn't it? In a cave. There's a cave you can go into it and stuff.
Yeah, Fingal's Cave.
Never been.
It's so beautiful.
Fingal's Cave.
Yeah. It's just unbelievable. Like I don't know. I can't wait to just explore even more. We did quite a few other things. We did Bidium Nambian as well, which was I've been up before with my friend, and I showed him the Three Sisters, and I said, tomorrow we're going to do Bidium, but we didn't end up doing it. So last year, I was like, we're doing it again. So we went to go and do it, and we went into the Lost Valley and then up across, and it was, if I remember, I'll show you the video of it later on. And it was just one of them days, like today, and like you've had many times, where you could stand at the top and just see as far as your eyes will see. It was just perfect, absolutely perfect.
Yeah. Mountains and mountains and mountains and mountains, all these layers of mountains from up there.
Yeah, just unbelievable. And it's just, but have you ever been to, you know, have you ever been anywhere else and climbed any other mountains? You know, have you done anything like that before that you've absolutely loved as well?
In terms of outside Scotland, or you know what? I'm ashamed to say I've never been to. I've been there. I've never been to Ireland. Never been to Ireland at all. I need to remedy that. Yeah. I need to remedy that. I've been to the lakes a few times, but one of those trips was to buy a kayak, and I kayaked on Derwent. I think it was Derwent Water. Is that next to Keswick?
Yeah,
Derwent Water, but we didn't go hiking. And then the second time I was at a stag do, and I think it was in Ambleside, or was it Grasmere? Was it Grasmere or Ambleside? Anyway, that was beautiful weather, and we'd been out the night before, and we woke, and everyone was like, "Oh, we'll go for a walk," and we just left. We were at a youth hostel, just outside the village, and we started to go up, and I was like, "I'm going to the top." Everyone was that hungover. They came back, and I was like, I didn't have a map or anything. I mean, I don't think I would have got lost, but that's as close as I've got to hiking in the lakes. I would like to go. I think my horizons are about to be expanded a wee bit. So when lockdown hit, I'd actually purchased a van, and it's getting converted into a camper van. Well, it was getting converted into a camper van. That's kind of on hold because everything's shut down because of the lockdown. But hopefully, once lockdown lifts, they will continue with my conversion, and I should have a camper van by the end of the year. And once that's in place, it'll give me more scope to maybe to explore more of the UK, because I've never climbed. I'd love to go to North Wales as well. I'd love to.
So have you ever done Snowdon?
Never been up Snowdon. No, never done any hiking in Wales.
It's so weird. It's so weird because I just then I was like, oh, honestly, Murray, it's beautiful. But when you've been to Scotland, it's one of those things. No, actually, no. I can't say that. No, Snowdon.
You're about to lose a lot of followers. They're like, I can't believe it. He's an Englishman and he's saying Scotland's better than our lakes.
No, Wales, Snowdon is beautiful. Scafell Park is beautiful. They're unbelievable. Snowdon's my favorite so far. But there's something different about Scotland. I don't know if it's the history, the volcanic, the volcanic. I can't think of the word. The things that have happened to it.
The landscapes.
Yeah, that have formed it over the years and stuff. And when you go, Glencoe, and then you go through to the Isle of Skye and further, there's just something a little bit different about it. But still, when you do Snowdon, you'll be like, oh, this is a beautiful mountain. It's got its peak, and it's just weird because there's a train that goes up it, and I think that's what.
I think is it not the most visited mountain in the world because of that? Loads and loads of people go to the summit because they can get the. I mean, the Cairngorm was the same. Cairngorm had the funicular railway. It ran up it until it broke. Obviously, not to the same degree, not quite to the top. And you know what? I think there were rules in place that you weren't allowed to leave the. It was called the Ptarmigan restaurant where the funicular railway went up to, and you're maybe another 20 minutes to the top of Cairngorm from there. But we went. Myself, I've been with my other half for about 23 years, but we only got married a few years ago. I ran out of excuses. Well, yes. Ran out of excuses, but we got married anyway. And we had a camper van. We had this old camper van, and we went around Scotland and we took the kids. And the kids, oh God, how old are they now? They would have been, I don't know, 8 and 11, so they were a bit younger. But we got the funicular up, and it was April time, and there was still some snow, so they were still skiing. So they were still letting people out of the restaurant to go out onto the plateau. And once again, it was a beautiful day. So my kids and I went up to the top of Cairngorm from the funicular. So I think that was my son's first and only Munro.
Yeah.
I know he's done a few since then. But yeah, no, I'd love to go to Snowdon. Love to go to Tryfan. Is it Tryfan? There's lots of scrambles on. Yeah.
You got to do it. It's awesome. It's one of those things, isn't it? Like I think my nana and granddad. I think I was going to try and do it this year. And I don't know if we're going to be able to everything at the moment because we're still not allowed to travel to to North Wales and Scotland yet. I'm hoping over the next few weeks that it will get to that point where we're allowed to cross borders and stuff. But I'm just hoping that the infection rate stays down. I do think there will be a second peak, but it's just how we're going to be able to deal with it. The NHS seems to be able to deal with a bit more strain now. That's what we went on lockdown for. So hopefully. Yeah. We can deal with a bit more of a second peak, but if it gets a bit crazy, then they know that they can slowly pull it back again. But I just don't know if the economy can take that. I don't.
That's the thing. It's a balance, isn't it? It's a balance. I think, I don't know. I just think in the next few weeks, there's going to be so many businesses in certain sectors that have been affected so badly that unfortunately people are going to be affected by it. And I don't know. It's hard to tell. I mean, I wouldn't want to be a politician from any way or form at the moment because you're essentially you've got this horrible disease which can kill people, and then you've also got the economy which is running people, out of jobs, people. And
it can. It can.
I mean, my dad. He's in his late 70s, and it's people like that. I think the majority of people who are of a certain age, like our immediate family, there probably wouldn't be a life-threatening effects of it. But you've got the older folk like my dad, and you've got to think about people. If you had a child who had a compromised immune system or something, I think I've heard a lot of people a bit more blasé about it. Going, "Oh, it'll be fine." I'm thinking, well, actually, if you put your feet in these people's shoes, this could kill you. So it is serious. But then you've got the other side of it as well. People are like, well, like yourself, if you can't work, how long can you go on like that? So they do need to. I think they need to test the waters tentatively while still trying to keep those people. And I think they do. To be fair, they were talking about the people over 70 and people who do have a higher risk of this affecting them. They did have to self-isolate a bit more than the rest of us. It's a tough one. Yeah, I don't know. if somebody had the correct solution, I'm sure we'd be doing that by now, Lee.
Yeah, it's never happened before, is it? So they're literally just like, okay, this is the best way to deal with it, and they're learning on the spot. But it is what it is. Hopefully, we took a little tributary there down the COVID route again. There, sorry about that. That was my fault. Listen, what I wanted to talk about as well is you are like you look back in your early videos, and then you look back in your videos now, and like you've just got so much more artistic with the way you present your journey, your discoveries of different mountains, you know, your expeditions and adventures. When you look back at your first ones, they're so rudimentary compared to the things that you've been putting out over the past like.
What are you saying? You saying my early videos aren't any good?
No, not at all. Not at all. No.
They're shocking, by the way. I leave them up. I do. They're all still there, Lee. Apart from the ones that have been removed for copyright, they're still there. There's one that I did. I don't know if it's still there. It was one of the first 2 or 3 that I'd done, and I literally had. I don't know what the phone I had at the time was. It wasn't an iPhone, but I did have a camera on it, and I had a wee pocket in my my gilet, and the camera just stuck at the top. I thought that's great, and up I went this all on my mountain bike, and look back on it now. I mean, the thing is, I might look back on the ones that I'm doing at the moment, you know, or pre-COVID, post-COVID. I might look back on them in 5 years' time and kind of go, God, they were bad. I can't believe that I did that. And you know, things evolve, and I do try and keep them. I do try and better myself. I try and improve what I can do. If there's something that I can do to make the videos better, I think, then I'll do it. But sometimes that doesn't often work. You know.
No, you are so. It's so weird. It's like I was thinking about this the other day. You know, like it's weird now because I myself, I don't really watch TV anymore. You know, the free time that I've got to myself, if I'm not trying to create art or if I'm not playing bass or obviously being a dad, it's generally watching YouTube. It's so weird because you've got smart TVs, you know, this and the other, and it's weird because you determine now what TV you're watching. So when you're watching. Put people's channels on and you could subscribe to their channel, etc. You know, you choose what TV shows you watch, and what's really strange about that is it's made people become inadvertently presenters of their own shows. And I think you're so good at what you do. You could have like a show on BBC, and I know people might say this to you and this and the other, but just the way you talk, the way you present, the way over time you've become more confident in being in front of the camera. There can be a video with just you sat in that room talking to the camera. You can edit it and do whatever you want, but it's still captivating. It's still something to listen to. And
problem is people don't understand me. You may have to subtitle this. Have you seen the subtitles that YouTube puts up on the auto captions in some of my videos? Oh my God, it's hilarious. Honestly, if you want to laugh, just go and find a vid. I used to do all the subtitles, but it took that long. I was like, I'm not writing out all my own subtitles now. But if you go into any of the ones that I've done in the last sort of this year and put on the subtitles, it's hilarious. So
it's hard. But I do think that I don't mind. I'm pretty good with the Scottish accent, but I think you've become so accomplished over a short space of time, and you seem to I don't think people realize what goes into actually creating the videos that you create, you know, when you're out there and capturing the shots, you know, with your drone. Not only that, taking various other shots, documenting it, etc., and then editing it and putting it together. So how do you feel?
Well, thank you.
No, it's good. It's good.
No, thank you very much. I mean, it has evolved over time, and the time it takes me to put a video together now is actually a lot less than what it was when I first started. Because when I first started, like, if I had 2 or 3 different, I said an old GoPro and an old Sony, or the editing software, I'd have to convert the file, because it was 2 different types of files those cameras were creating, like an MP2 or whatever it is, in something else. And I had to then convert those files into a file that the software would then recognize. Whereas now, you can just throw anything into the software and you can then start playing with it. And you get used to your kind of workflow, and that's, I can sort of go in and just do it quite quickly now. It still takes up a lot of time, though. You're right. I mean, as I said before, and I'll re-emphasize this, I have a very understanding wife. Because if I'm away on a Saturday, I can be away all day up the hills, and then I come back, and what am I doing on the Sunday is I'm editing the vlog for going out on the Wednesday. So she is very understanding. And I'm quite lucky now because the kids are a bit older. Right, I mean, my kids are 16 and 13 now. So, they don't take as much looking after. When the kids are younger, that it's a lot of your time and energy is making sure they're not going up the stairs without the stair gate closed, or poking their fingers in sockets, or going under the sink and getting the bleach out, things like that. But the videos have they definitely evolved. I've bought new gear as the time's gone on, and I had what, a lot of people ask me about the drone, but I've not actually used the drone in about a year. That it's appeared. I've put drone footage on, especially in some of these re-edited ones that I've done recently, because I can use that when I'm talking about it. In terms of actually capturing footage of the drone, I think the last time I had it out was when I went up curved ridge on the Buchel towards the end of last summer. And that's mainly because I bought a new camera. I had to buy a new camera. In fact, just over, your listeners won't be able to see this, but I'm pointing at a camera.
Yeah, right, that one up there, yeah.
And that was my old camera. That was a Sony. Next, in the back of it's all fallen off. I was on a wildcat with a chap called Ray. He's got a YouTube channel called Renegade Scott, and it fell over. The camera fell over and smashed, and I kind of stuck it together with gaffer tape. And I bought this new camera, and oh my God, I was just like, this is amazing. So I've been spending a lot of time learning how to use that correctly, and the lens, it's a lot heavier as well, but I just haven't had time because I'm still learning this new camera. I thought, I've got the drone as well. And the other thing with the drone is I only tend to really use it if I'm by myself. And sometimes you can't guarantee that. There's nothing, you don't want to be intrusive. You don't want to take it up when there's lots of people on the summit.
For sure.
So yeah, I used to just sort of take it in the wild camps, and it's certainly, there's some amazing footage I've had with that drone, but I think I will get back to it, especially if the drones get smaller. The one that I've got is, I don't know if you know the drones, it's a Mavic.
Yeah.
Pro, like the first Mavic Pro. But now they've got the Air and the Spark and these sort of smaller ones, which I'm maybe waiting for it to get a wee bit smaller, and then I'll splash out.
Yeah, that's it. Well, you were talking about before with your kids, like, I love being outdoors, and I try and get my kids outside as much as possible. But like literally the other day, I took my daughter up Pendle Hill, and my son will do it. He's just about to be 4, and my daughter's just turned 7. So
Right.
she will do it, and she walked to the top without me carrying her. It's not a ludicrous amount of height to climb, but it's still, it's good for her to get up there.
It's a long way. For a wee one.
Yeah. I did end up carrying Felix, my little boy, quite a lot, but it's still one of those things where the kids just whinge and moan in those scenarios. It's so funny, me trying to get across to them how beautiful it is. I'll stop and be like, look at where we are. Look at how high we're up here, like, and all this kind of stuff. But it doesn't seem to be washing with my daughter so much. What's it like with your kids when you're taking them out? Have they been similar?
Yeah, well, you know what now? I was always of the... I was lucky when I was brought up. I wasn't really forced to do anything. I didn't have any. My parents were very loving and gave me a great upbringing, but they weren't ever pushy parents. I mean, for instance, my dad was a rugby man. Right. I hated rugby. I was football through and through when I was a kid, but he never complained, and he used to come to all the games. So I've kind of developed that with my kids. I've thought I'm not going to push them into doing something they don't like. Now, my son, he's a gamer, and he's been up over the years. He's been up maybe 2 Munros and 1 Corbett. My daughter's 16 now. She went through a phase maybe from about the age of 7 to 12, and she came out quite a lot with me. In fact, one of my favourite films was we went up a hill called Ben Duran next to Bridge of Orchy. It's one of these, before you come out of Tyndrum, not the hill, there's just like pyramid-shaped mountain. That's that one. And I remember doing that with her, and I've got a great video of her, and she was just wee. But when the kids get older and become teenagers, once again, it's that hiking isn't cool, But yeah. If they want to get back into it, once they get a bit older and they want to come out with me, then I'll jump at the chance to take them up. But yeah, so the last few years they've not really been out and about with me. They'll go out with me with the dog, we'll go around the block and up to the local woodlands, but dragging them up a mountain, they're not interested at the moment. But that might change, give it a few years, and if they do ever want to come up with their old dad, I'll drag them up a hill. It's not a problem.
Yeah, it's just good, isn't it? That's definitely a good point to make. You can't make them do something that they don't want to do. Especially on something so big. When I took her up Penny again, I showed her, because you can see Whernside and Ingleborough, the Yorkshire Three Peaks. And you're like, that's the distance, because the thing is about the Yorkshire Three Peaks, it's not the peaks that are the killer, really. They do add to the strain of the day. It's just the distance in between. You can hike it about 26 miles just in general by the time you start and finish. But just trying to show her them, you could just see her like, not a chance, Dad, not a chance. I'm never doing anything.
Taking me where?
Yeah. But I think you're right. You can't force them into things. Have you ever had any serious? Well, you said you broke your arm, so like,
broke my arm.
Did you know you?
It wasn't a bad break. No. I'm halfway through the video. I'll be finishing it off. Once we're finishing this, but yeah, I was going into a couple of Corbetts, so that's the mountains just a bit lower than the Munros, and it was about an 8-kilometre walk in. So I thought I'll take my bike, and I was cycling in, and I kind of the path went up and then down that was cycling, and the sun was coming up, and it was a beautiful, beautiful sunrise. And I thought I need to get through this dip so I can get back up again to be able to see the horizon, to watch the sun coming up. So I put my foot down and I was kind of looking over my shoulder at these pink clouds. And the next thing I know, I hit the ground. I've had more injuries on my bike. I've broken my ribs on my bike, just doing my local cycle. And tell you what, bikes are dangerous.
Yes, they are.
She come with a warning. Anyway, I came off with a clatter. And I literally I did a piece to camera about 20 minutes before we came on air. I'm saying this, I came off with a clatter. It was one of those ones when you hit the ground and you're like, oh, that was a bad one. Have I broken anything?
Yeah.
And I can remember sort of standing up and my elbow's a wee bit sore. And then immediately, I don't know why, because I was in the middle of nowhere. I mean, nobody around for miles. So I realised that I hadn't killed myself. And the first thing that I do is I'm looking around to make sure nobody saw me coming off the bike, middle of nowhere. And anyway, I got back on the bike and I was like, oh, that arm's a bit sore. And the adrenaline was still pumping. And I was at the point, I was only a few minutes away from where I was leaving the bike before heading up the hill. And started heading up the hill and eventually just had to put my poles away. And I kind of, if you've got your rucksack on, you've got like a hip belt. I had to put my hand in the hip belt and just kind of rest it like a sling. Yeah. I just got worse and worse the way it went. I couldn't straighten it by the end of it and try to get back on the bike. So yeah, it was a fracture of the bone. Just I can't remember what it's called. The radial bone, maybe the radial head up here. So I think I'd gone down.
Your elbow on the floor.
No.
Like that.
No. I think what had happened is the doctor told me this. He says when you went down, you probably went down with your hand first, and when your hand hits the ground, two things can happen. You can either break your wrist, or the shock moves up your arm, and it kind of gets there. So sorry if people that are watching, that's me hitting my elbow. People that are listening, not watching. I'm sitting there doing the actions. Yeah, so yeah, it wasn't that bad. I mean, it was like just a broken radial head or something like that, and I had to have my arm in a sling for 3 or 4 weeks. So yeah, it was. Had I known, I would have just turned around and come home because there were some pretty steep slopes, and I couldn't use my poles, and I was just one of those things.
So you carried on so you broke your arm, and then you carried on and climbed the Corbett.
2 Corbetts.
Murray, oh my god.
But I didn't know. I mean, to be fair, I come off the bike and it was sore, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And with hindsight, I would have probably just gone back. I was in the middle of nowhere, 8 kilometers in, and fall off my bike. And
it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. So,
did you? Have you ever had any close calls climbing, like yourself, or even just on the mountains?
No, I mean, I've seen a few. I mean, I have been involved, but I can't really talk about them because it'd be a bit unfair on the people the people that were involved. But I've certainly seen a few bad things, some very, very bad things. I'm trying to think if I've seen any rescues I've seen helicopters come in, and you always, God, when you hear the sounds of a helicopter, like that time we talked about there about Ben Nevis. But yeah, nothing. I think the majority of people that, if you look at the statistics, a lot of it's people rolling their ankles and sort of minor things like that. Bad things do happen though. I mean, as you grow older, you kind of, when you're younger, you just have this kind of feeling of impenetrable, you think bad's going to happen to you. And then as you grow, you get wiser, and you realize that bad things do happen and they can happen to you. But I say to people often say, oh, it's so dangerous. And, even just taking the climbing out of the equation, why'd you go to the mountains in the winter? It could be, well, it's a risk, but you don't go, if you know what you're doing, you don't go into any areas that are going to increase the risk. So if you go out and you've been studying, the winter's a completely different ballgame. So I'm talking about winter. You don't go into any slopes that will be avalanche prone, for instance. You check the forecast the week before, you do your on-site assessment and stuff like that. And people that aren't into it, they maybe say, well, it's dangerous. And I always have the same answer to them. I always say this, and I say, the most dangerous thing that I do when I go hill walking or when I do anything is driving to the destination and driving back. And they go, what do you mean? I said, well, if I'm in a car, you're driving along 60 or 70 miles an hour. If you hit a car coming another way or somebody hits you, that's 150 mile an hour collision combined speed. And you have no control over other people and these big bits of metal which are flying along the road. Or, deer jumping in front of the car or, anything.
Yeah.
People become blasé. If everyone had to do a rock climb on their way to their work, they'd become blasé about that. You see some of these people away in India, they've got their kids in their back and they're going across these cliff faces to take them to the schools.
Yeah.
Not a care in the world. I think if you gave somebody the keys to a car and they'd never seen it before, it would scare you. It would scare you because unfortunately, a lot of people, I don't know what the statistics are, but a lot more people will unfortunately have serious accidents driving their cars than they will rock climbing.
Yeah, well.
Anyway, I've kind of gone down a rabbit hole there. Like I'm a high horse.
No, it's true. It's hard though, every day is a risk, Murray, isn't it? I think from the moment you're born, we're slowly dying, in a certain sense, but there's so many things that can happen to you.
Well said.
Yeah. And it gets to a point where you're just like, this is the thing about what's happening right now as well. Everybody's taking risks just in general life. The moment you wake up and you step out your house, you're making decisions, like you said, to get in your car and all this kind of stuff. I don't know, like you say, that is very well put. What you said there. I'm more likely to die from driving to and from the mountain rather than being on the mountain. What have you? So when you do your wild camps, have you ever encountered anything strange? Not even strange, or anything scary or spooky or
spooky music. Yeah. It's amazing how your mind plays tricks on you if you're by yourself. It wasn't so. In fact, I do have a very good story. Actually, I do have a spooky one. But before I go into that, it's just popped into my head. But was it last year? I did a bivvy. So a bivvy is basically just a sleeping bag with a coating on it. It's no tent. And I was in Glencoe, and I had my big head torch on, and I was just sort of lying there. And I thought, sure, I can hear someone. And this torch is like super bright. Got a story about that as well. Somebody that I knew, I was going up the same hill in the winter one time, early doors, and this guy that I kind of knew, and he got in touch with me and he said, "You weren't up in Glencoe first thing this morning. We thought it was a search and rescue. Your head torch was that bright. But we drove past. We said, that's bloody Murray going up the hill." And they were spot on. But anyway,
brilliant.
Yeah, I just saw all these little eyes looking at me, like hundreds of them, and what it was a herd of deer on the side of the mountain. They're all sat down, but their eyes obviously pick up the light from the torch, and they just like hundreds of them just staring at me. But that was fine. I was like, oh, it's just the deer. But I will tell you a bit of a strange, and this just happened recently, a strange story. So this guy Ray that I was talking about earlier on, I went on a winter wild camp with him just before Christmas, I think it was. Anyway, we went up. It was Glencoe. It was on just along from the Buchel, and we'd set up, and it was a lovely evening. We were in the snow, and we were looking down Glencoe, and you could see the cars going past. And we just sat there, and we noticed a light, and this light was moving. It was just very odd. It was like a dot. It was like an orb. It was way down the mountain. Now, I thought it was close to the road. Ray thought it was moving up the hill towards us. And we're sat looking at it now. At the time, I didn't have. I've got something called a prime lens on my camera, so there's no zoom in it.
Okay.
And we're just watching it, and this thing was moving around. So the other thing that could have been was maybe refracted light from the headlights, but then it was still there. Once all the cars went past, it was still there. So we're like, it can't be any sort of refracted light because there's no cars there to produce it.
Yeah.
And then we thought maybe it's a drone. But why would somebody be flying a drone at night? And it was moving. If it was a drone, from the position we were looking down on it at, it was moving. It'd be too fast for it. It was covering huge distances. And it was kind of doing. It wasn't like doing curved natural movements. It was like it was going so far, stopping and then doing a right angle, and it was just very odd. It was like something you'd see on a UFO kind of, these kind of things that you get on those sort of daytime American channel 556 on your digital box. UFO sightings. It was like one of those, and very odd. And Ray went, like, I'm going to go get. He had the zoom camera. He went back to his tent to get it and came in, and as soon as he got that camera out, it disappeared.
Of course,
literally as soon as he got it out, it just vanished. Very odd. I don't know what it is. But we did look into it. Very, very interesting was the week before. Believe it or not, there had been a earth tremor. I think they're called, like a mini earthquake in Glencoe. And apparently these sort of orb lights have been seen around the sites of earthquakes, some seismic activity. So if it wasn't a UFO, it was obviously some sort of earthquake.
Wow, that's crazy.
I don't know. That's me just making it up. I don't know. It might have been something very logical. It might have been somebody, I don't know. It wasn't somebody with a torch because there was no beam of light to it. It was just like a light, just like a light. Anyway.
Wow, I get it. So you were looking down towards the valley. So you were looking down. It wasn't up.
No, it was right, but it was way down.
Weird.
It was, like near the ground. Yeah,
that's weird. You do a lot of cosmic photography as well. Like I think that's probably one of the most visually impressive things for people to see. You
see the stars. Yeah, it's amazing. I love that. Yeah.
I think that's the best thing. People need to do that. Getting somewhere where there's absolutely zero light pollution and just seeing just how many actual stars are out there, how many balls of fire are just suspended in this nothingness. That's just like, it's so, I can only imagine what has gone through your mind with stuff like that. Because I tried getting that through to my daughter that literally is a star that's closest to us is the sun. It's a star. And then at night, those are all suns, you know what I mean? And she could see her like,
you can't think about that stuff too much, Lee. It just messes with your head. You're like, what is out there? How far does that go? How many billions? Yeah, it's crazy. But you're right, wild camping's perfect for that. And especially the nights where there's been a few times where I've been in places like miles away from any light pollution. There's been no moon, so the moon's a big factor. And it's just, you can literally see the Milky Way. It's just amazing. You can spend hours just gazing up at the sky. I've not seen any aliens, no spooky stories with that sort of thing. There are lots of stories if you Google it about people hillwalking and having this sort of sixth sense and thinking there's somebody there. And I must admit, sometimes I've had that, but I just sort of shake it off and tell myself it's just because I'm in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm very much like you as well. I think what you were saying there and the way you speak about stuff like that, I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in things like that. I think there's probably life out there. Well, no, there's not probably. There's definitely life out there in the cosmos somewhere. It's way too vast, massive, and just unbelievably never-ending that there's got to be something out there. It's completely inevitable. I think it's as hard as for us to comprehend the size of what we're living on and the size of what we're living in. It's hard for us to comprehend how much actual life is actually out there. But it's weird when you can be in certain places and you can feel like there's things there. I'm definitely not someone that believes in anything like that. I'd rather walk around in the dark. And if I do see something that is a ghost, because 9 times out of 10 people see ghosts, they're always on their own, aren't they? They're always on their own. There's ever a room with 5 people and they're like, guys, there's a ghost. Can you see what I can see? Yes. We all
all the footages on like phones that were, the cameras are so pixelated. You're like, oh, come on.
Yeah. We'd have seen some by now, but I think if you were to see a ghost, it's definite. You definitely know there's something else then, don't you? You know what I mean? So I'd rather walk around in the dark and be like, wow, there's definitely something else going on, but I don't know.
Well, I've got some stories. I don't know if you want to hear them, but yes, stories from my house. But the house, this has nothing to do with hill walking, by the way, but the house that we grew up in as kids, it was a new build. I mean, my parents had bought the land and built it, so it wasn't an old house. You know, it wasn't like an 18th century haunted mansion or anything. But I only found this out after we'd left because my parents had kept it quiet from me. So they basically, my mum used to sense and see this sort of shadow. She says you could tell it was a man. It was a shadow of a man. And my dad was like, what all the BS, that's a load of rubbish and what have you. But when we all left, like the kids, when we all as kids left home when we got older, you know, my dad started to he eventually got, actually, for somebody that was a complete non-believer, he actually got a exorcist in to try and see what this was. And there's so many stories. So the story that I've got that I can't explain, I've got loads. I mean, I remember seeing somebody at the end of my bed, but that was just not long after when I was 14, there was a friend of mine that had drowned, and that's probably more to do with my mental state. But I remember thinking I'd seen him at the end of the bed, and at this point there was no information about this. I didn't know this house was meant to be haunted, but I can remember once I had a Mini. So my very first car was a Mini, like, you know, a proper old Mini, not like the new big Minis. Like, this was a proper Mini, and the door handle on it had a wee metal sort of button you pressed in, and it was a very distinctive sound. And the door was proper, like, it wasn't like the modern cars where they're kind of padded out and they're sort of lightweight. Yeah. When you slammed this door shut, which you had to do to get it shut, you knew the sound of it. Anyway, I'd parked the car in the garage, and the garage was right next to the kitchen. I'd come in, there was nobody in the house, and I was in the I was getting something out of the fridge, which was the closest point to the front door, to the garage door, should I say, to get in. And I heard the door of my car opening and closing, and I went running out. And I was like, because there was nothing else it could have been, and it was so close and it was so loud. I thought somebody's trying to steal my car. I ran in. The garage doors closed, completely dark, switched the light on. And the only way out of that would have been through the door that I went through, which I was standing next to at the fridge, or opening the garage door. And when you open the garage door, you'll hear that. Yeah. And there was nobody there. And I just thought, what the hell is that? And then it all became apparent when I was told about this. And apparently when I was a wee boy, the doorbell used to go, and I can't remember this, but my parents would say, who was it? I'd go and answer it. I said, it's just Mr. Ghost. I used to say that to them. At least I think I don't know whether I was tuning in, but anyway, I'll keep this short. It's okay. He says I'll keep the short half an hour later. When they got this guy in, this spiritualist or what have you, he came in with these dowsing rods to find out, I don't know, if there was energy. And apparently underneath the house where we stayed, there was 3 ley lines crossing, which apparently, if you're into this sort of stuff, it attracts spirits. Yeah. Places like Stonehenge and all these sort of places are built on where ley lines cross, and we had 3 of them. I don't know if it's something to do with underground water streams or something like that, but yeah, apparently it was very energy, like this sort of energy, and maybe that's what it was. And there was final story was the reason my dad eventually got him in was they'd had friends round, the doorbell went, and for some reason one of the friends went to answer the door, and they had a puppy dog, and the dog always followed the owner, and the dog wouldn't go outside the living room where they were. It started barking and heckles went up, and when the friend opened the front door, it was a beautiful day, like it was today. There was a man-sized footprint, wet footprint, just one footprint there. What? And they went running out to see. And where did you get a wet footprint from? Very odd. Yeah. And things like that started happening. So I don't know.
It's hard, isn't it? You know, I think it is hard. Like I said, just I'm on record now saying I don't believe in them. It's so strange because people give you so many different accounts, and you're like, wow. I remember my nana. She said that my granddad and my nana would never. There's no reason for my nana to bring anything like this up, but she said that my granddad used to work away quite a lot, and this is about 15 years ago or so. And she said she was in bed one night, and she said she just woke up. She said she didn't wake up from anything. She just woke up. Yeah. And then she's like, God, I've gone cold now thinking about it.
Shivers down your spine.
Yeah, she said, I woke up. There was nothing that woke me up. I just woke up, lay down, and my eyes opened. And she said she felt like there was someone in the room, like behind her, stood in the corner, and she was like, she didn't know what to say. She's frozen with fear, and she said, no, I'm not joking. Lee, the next thing that happened was someone literally bang, grabbed hold of my ankle. Like really, she said she really, really grabbed hold of my ankle. This, whatever it was, forcefully grabbed hold of my ankle. She said she sat up, pulled the bed sheet back to look down, and there was nothing there. There was absolutely nothing. And I was just
getting
like,
goosebumps.
I know, but I'm like, it's one of them things where I'm like, she's definitely not someone to lie
Make
about
it up,
something
or,
like
yeah.
that or make it up. Some things you can think that, oh yeah, it's because of this, or yeah, it's because of that. But I don't know. I still.
It's the unknown.
Yeah.
I think, you know, in days gone past, they call them angels, or we'd called them ghosts, and as the time's gone on, it's UFOs. It's just things that we can't explain.
Yeah.
Yet, or can we? Who knows? And maybe it is. Maybe when the time comes, maybe there is ghosts, and maybe there is aliens. Who knows?
Maybe.
Who knows? But it's unexplainable, isn't it? And that's kind of the brain kind of.
Yeah, I've never had anything like that. The only person I've lost my dad. I lost my dad like 10 years ago, and I was so close to him. And the only thing that I've ever had close to that was he was in two of my dreams in like the 2 months after he passed. He was in two of my dreams, and I felt like he had visited me for some reason. And it sounds so woo-woo and sounds so strange. But in those dreams, the way he acted, the way he was, the way he spoke, and even in one dream, he spoke to me, but there was no words. But the tone of his voice was like, he was being very like, you're going to be okay. Everyone's going to be all right. You've got to carry on. Everyone's going to be blah, blah, blah. And it was so strange, just the way he's not been in my dreams since, you know what I mean? And it's so weird. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I don't know, but
we'll only find out when their time comes.
Yes, because like I said before, so morbidly, we're all dying slowly.
But you know what? I often talk about that. We're talking about injuries, and this was getting away from the supernatural. You know, I had my knees operated on, and you know, people say, "Oh, but you could get injured." Well, you know what? I'd rather go to my grave with a body that was injured and well used, and one that was pristine and hadn't had any experience. You know.
Yes.
That's my kind of outlook on life, you know.
I think that's a good outlook.
Much better to have lived and enjoyed, and better experiencing something, or better regretting something you've done than regretting something you've not done. That's another good saying that I like, you know.
Yeah,
I like that.
While you can use your body, you should definitely be using it because there will come a point when your body will not do what you want it to do. So while you can do, this is why I try and say this to my kids all the time, you know, while you can do, you should definitely use your body and put it in places where you're experiencing things that will be with you till the day you die. So, and you're definitely one of them. Dude, I don't want to take up much more of your time. Like, I'm very conscious that I've had nearly 2 hours with you. I'm so happy.
Crikey, that's been good fun. It's gone quickly, Lee, has it? It's been a great chat. It's been a great chat.
Yeah,
you enjoyed it. It's super good.
I was so chuffed. I messaged you and I was like, I wonder if he will, because I still can't believe you actually sat talking to me, but because I watch your videos so much, and I can imagine you being like, what, me? You know, but I watch your videos so much even when I'm cooking food, or if I'm sat down at night and I'm drawing or I'm preparing for a tattoo or whatever. You're always someone who I will watch. And before I went to Scotland last year, I spent time watching your videos, getting ideas for this, that, and the other. And so honestly, thank you for coming on.
That's all right. If you're back up in Scotland, give us a shout. If I'm free, we can hook up and we'll go up a hill.
I'll hold you to that.
Yeah. I might have my camper van by then.
Yeah,
here in my van. We'll see. But super.
All right, okay. Well, thank you for coming on, and I'll speak to you.
Cheers, man. Thanks, Lee. Take care.
Bye-bye.